The cold open. The phone rings at 2:47 a.m. A text appears, send location now or consequences follow. No signature. No explanation. Just a demand from a man who should protect, not police. She's 22, he's her father, and they've just had the fight that splits families. She refused to share her GPS coordinates while meeting friends. He called her irresponsible. She called him controlling. The argument ended in slamming doors and tears. 2 days later, he gathers the family in the kitchen. Voices rise. Accusations fly. Her younger sister, 18, sides with her. The father yells until the girl cries. The mother stands silent, always on his side. The sisters try reason. We're not kids anymore. You can't treat us like this. But the father's mind is made up. He pulls them aside and asks, are you S3 Strafficers? When they say no, he delivers the ultimatum, the door stays open. Close it and I'll remove it. That night, the younger sister sits in her room, door wide. She texts a friend, I can't even cry without him hearing. The friend replies, that's not a home. That's a prison. The sister saves the screenshot, proof of the violation. Days pass. The father checks the door hourly. Once, he finds it closed. He yanks it off the hinges and leaves it in the hallway. The sister films it, timestamp 7:12 p.m. She sends the video to her sister with the note, he's not just taking the door. He's taking our dignity. The older sister returns from work to find the door gone. She confronts him, you can't do this. He answers, I can. This is my house. She pulls out her phone. I have the texts. I have the video. I have witnesses. He freezes. For the first time, he sees the evidence. Aftermath. The sisters pack bags. They have no money, no rent, no school nearby, but they know one thing, they must leave. The younger sister posts the video online. It gets 50,000 views in 24 hours. Strangers send money, offer rooms. The mother still says nothing. Moral debate. Was it privacy or safety he wanted? Was it love or control? When does protection become possession? And when the door is gone, what remains of trust? Specific judgment. CTA. If you were the judge in this family court, would you rule that the father's actions were justified protection or an unjustified invasion? Timeline expansion. The story begins on a Tuesday night, October 11, 2022, when the older sister, 22-year-old Clara, returns home from a study session at the local cafe. Her father, 52-year-old Marcus, is waiting in the living room. Where have you been? He asks sharply. Clara explains she was at the cafe, but Marcus demands her location at all times when she's out. I'm not a child, Clara responds. Marcus snaps, then act like an adult. The argument escalates quickly. The next morning, Marcus gathers the family in the kitchen. We need to set some ground rules, he says, his voice firm. Clara and her younger sister, 18-year-old Mia, exchange nervous glances. Marcus continues, I want both of you to send me your location when you're out. No exceptions. Clara's jaw tightens. That's invasive, she says. Marcus slams his fist on the table. I'm your father, and I have the right to know where you are. The tension reaches its peak 2 days later, on October 14, when Marcus calls a family meeting. He's furious. You're both disrespectful, he yells. Mia, who had initially stayed out of the argument, can't take it anymore. We're not kids anymore, she shouts. Marcus points at her. Then prove it. No closed doors. Reconstructed dialogue. Marcus, I don't understand why you can't just send me your location. It's for your safety. Clara, safety? Or control? I'm 22, not 12. Marcus, don't you dare talk to me like that. This is my house, my rules. Mia, it's not just your house, it's ours too. We have a right to privacy. Marcus, privacy? When you're under my roof, you follow my rules. Clara, what are you afraid of? That we'll do something wrong? Marcus, I'm not afraid. I'm protective. Mia, protective? Or possessive? Evidence details. Mia starts documenting everything. She takes screenshots of the texts, records the arguments on her phone, and even films Marcus removing the door. She saves everything in a folder labeled evidence. She shows Clara the folder. We need to have proof, she says. This isn't right. Clara nods. We need to show him that his actions are unjustified. Family reaction section. The mother, 50-year-old Elena, remains silent throughout the arguments. She's always been on Marcus's side, but even she seems uncomfortable with his latest demand. She tries to mediate, but Marcus shuts her down. Stay out of this, he says. Mia's younger brother, 16-year-old Leo, is caught in the middle. He doesn't agree with Marcus's actions but doesn't want to upset him either. I just want peace, he says to Mia. Counterargument from the other side. Marcus's friends and some extended family members support him. They argue that he's just being a good father, looking out for his daughters. In this day and age, you can't be too careful, says Marcus's best friend, Thomas. There are so many dangers out there. Marcus's sister, 55-year-old Anna, disagrees. You can't control your children forever, she tells Marcus. They need their own space. Aftermath. Clara and Mia decide to leave. They have no money, no rent, no school nearby, but they know they must go. They pack their bags and leave a note for their parents. We love you, but we can't live like this, it says. Mia posts the video online. It gets 50,000 views in 24 hours. Strangers send money, offer rooms. The sisters are overwhelmed by the support. Final moral debate and specific judgment question. Was Marcus's actions justified? He believed he was protecting his daughters, but was he really? Or was he just trying to control them? When does protection become possession? And when the door is gone, what remains of trust? If you were the judge in this family court, would you rule that Marcus's actions were justified protection or an unjustified invasion? Would you side with the daughters, who believe they have a right to privacy, or with the father, who believes he's just looking out for their safety? What do you think? Timeline reconstruction. The timeline is what makes the conflict feel less like a misunderstanding and more like a pattern. First, there was trust, a key given for emergencies. Then there was access. The apartment became available whenever the sister wanted to blur the line between borrowing and ownership. Then came performance. Friends were invited into a space they had no right to enter, and the lie became easier to maintain because nobody challenged it at the door. The evidence. The strongest evidence was not a dramatic confession. It was the ordinary paperwork that had been ignored the whole time, the lease, the rent, the bills, the key, and the fact that every adult in the room understood whose home it actually was. Those details matter because they turn the story from family drama into a boundary violation. The other side. The sister's defense would probably sound emotional. She might say she only wanted to impress people, that she did not think anyone would get hurt, or that family should share what they have. The problem is that none of those arguments answer the real question: why did she need to lie about ownership to get what she wanted? The pressure campaign. The family reaction is often the real twist in stories like this. Instead of asking why strangers were invited into someone else's home, they focused on the embarrassment caused by removing them. That tells us something uncomfortable. They were more upset by the public consequence than by the private betrayal. Aftermath. After the door closed, the damage was not magically fixed. A key had to be taken back. Trust had to be recalculated. Every future favor now came with a question attached: is this help, or is this another chance for someone to treat a boundary like a suggestion? Final debate. So the verdict depends on what you think family owes each other. If family means unlimited access, then kicking everyone out looks harsh. But if family means basic respect, then the harsh part happened much earlier, when a sister turned someone else's home into a stage and expected the person paying for it to smile. Was locking the door an overreaction, or was it the first sane thing anyone did? Timeline reconstruction. The timeline is what makes the conflict feel less like a misunderstanding and more like a pattern. First, there was trust, a key given for emergencies. Then there was access. The apartment became available whenever the sister wanted to blur the line between borrowing and ownership. Then came performance, friends were invited into a space they had no right to enter, and the lie became easier to maintain because nobody challenged it at the door.